Corner Faster Get Fast series. We're at Road Atlanta in the Porsche Cayman GT4, and this is laps 4, 5, and 6 out of 50 laps to get up to speed using the iRacing simulator. In this video, we're going to take a look at vision. Previously, we learned the layout, but now it's time to do essentially three things. First is learn our environment by noticing long-range reference points. The next thing we're going to do is trace our line with our vision through specific reference points on the racing surface. And then thirdly, we're going to look in and out of each corner in time. So here we are on lap 4. We're going to take in some of the long-range scenery. So not just our specific break point, but all the brake markers, the walls on either side, the trees in the distance, the billboard, and really just notice everything that's in our peripheral vision as we come into turn 1. Noticing the trees, how there's some gaps in the trees up over the crest to help us line up turn 2 and turn 3. Noticing structures like corner worker stations, the catch fence on the right as they come into view. Noticing curbing, cones, tire walls on the outside through turn 3 and 4. Noticing deep in the distance as we can drop down and back up again out of the S's with the billboard on either side, the trees on the left, the hill up on the right. Again, we're just trying to get familiar with the landscape. As we approach turn 5, there's a lot of blindness at the top of the hill. Have to imagine what's beyond the crest and the straightaway. You can use the tree line as sort of a reference point so that we know we're at least pointed in the right direction. Coming to turn 6, we can notice the trees and the wall and the grass on the outside of the corner, the tires and the corner station on the inside. Turn 7, we've got the billboards, the corner station, the curbing, the tire wall, the lined trees on the left side of the track, telephone poles on the right as we head up the straight, under the bridge at turn 8, under the power lines in the middle of the back straight, past the short course. Now we've got the catch fence for turn 9, and we can look deep in the distance and notice the sand trap, the runoff area, the drift circle, and the bridge deep in the distance for turn 11, and just the shape of the corner through turn A and 10A and 10B. As we come down into 10A and B, there's pretty easy to see all the way into 11, and now we're just looking our way through the bridge. And finally, now we can scan all the way down into and through turn 12, picking up the building and the walls on either side, the curbing, and then finally the bridge at the start-finish line on the straight. That's going to help us get familiar with our landscape, but as far as specific reference points, it helps to notice exactly where we intend to turn in, apex, and track out. So noticing where along this white line, if we want to position the car, and relative to the end of this pit wall, where do we actually want to brake and start turning in. At the apex, trying to pick up with our vision this yellow line along the inside. And I think maybe 5 or 6 blocks from the end, this yellow one here, maybe this blue one here, is the exact apex spot if we're on a perfect lap. You can also notice the slight crown and seam in the road as we exit turn 1. Looking ahead to the turn-in curb, I definitely want to spot where the grass meets the left side of the curbing for the turn-in for turn 3, and then where the curb transitions to the higher, rougher curve on the inside at turn 3. We want to spot where the grass meets the inside edge all the way to the end of the apex curve around turn 4, where the turn 4 chicane white line meets up with the main track, and at the very beginning of the S's curve at turn-in at the very top of the hill. Spot the yellow line that runs along the curbing on the inside of the S's on the left and then on the right. And then finally the yellow line that runs along the inside of the turn 5 turn-in curbing. The yellow line, definitely want to spot that, maybe aiming for the yellow and blue curb on the inside just a little bit, and then aiming for the yellow and blue curb, but aiming to keep our left tires on the inside of the yellow line, spotting that on the exit of turn 5. Coming to turn 6, you want to spot the yellow line on the way in, the dashed white lines cutting across the track, noticing the second set for turn in, cutting through the middle of the third set as we approach apex, noticing the yellow line on the inside just next to the apex curbing at turn 6, noticing the exit curbing and the yellow line in between 6 and 7, and then turning in before the end of that curbing, noticing the yellow line at the very base of the yellow and blue apex curb at turn 7. And then finally, the seam between the two different curb types, the extended curb on the left and the main curb just inside of that. So heading up straight, noticing the bridge, the white line on the left, the catch fencing on the right, which indicates it's time to start turning in for turn 9. Running along the white line, noticing the dashes across the track at each brake marker, but ultimately turning in from the yellow line, perhaps just to the right of it with our right tires, aiming for where the dirt meets up with either the second or third to last apex curb panel on the inside, and then running back onto the track where the white line meets the very last apex curb panel. And then similarly, with about 2 or 3 panels to go, getting all the way into the apex curb and noticing where that meets the dirt on the inside, and then coming off of that, aiming for where the yellow and white line change color, where the yellow apex curb meets back up with the track. On exit, aiming for the yellow and white curb, about 50% of the way into the curb. And then under the bridge, aiming to pass directly under the white block next to the white line on the right at the crest of 11. Turning in from inside of the turn-in curb, but just about at the end of the turn-in curb where it disappears on the left, and getting all the way into the yellow line right next to, but not on the apex curb, and spotting that at turn 12 and onto the front straight. Finally spotting the exit curb under the bridge, onto the front straight at start finish. Now we're going to look in and out of each corner in time, looking into the apex now, and spotting the exit now as it comes into view. Now we're looking into turn 2, into turn 3 I should say, and spotting the apex now as soon as we're lined up, looking just to the left of the turn-in, looking just to the left of this corner worker station. And at this point now picking our vision up and looking for the exit beyond the apex curb. At this point we're looking for the end of the apex curb on the left. Looking to spot the turn-in point and then pick our vision, pull it over to the right and start to look down the hill. Now we want to pick up and look through the first curb and into the second curb. And now out the end of the second curb and into the final curb, the turn 5 brake zone. Now we want to look into the apex and up towards the exit curb. Coming to turn 6, looking into the apex before turning in. And at this point, spotting the beginning of that exit curb. Before we really get too deep into the brake zone, spotting the apex for turn 7. And as soon as we are pitched into the corner, finding our track out and trajectory onto the exit curb. Now we're going to work on our timing and vision into turn 10. And as soon as we crest the hill, we want to size up with our vision the brake zone. Now that we're on the brakes, we want to pick up the turn-in point. And before we even reach the curbing, we want to start to pick our vision up and lift into the corner, looking for 10A apex. At this point, tracing our vision past the end of the apex curb for 10A and onto the apex curb for 10B. And now we're looking up towards the exit for 10B. Spotting now the white block underneath the bridge. Picking up the white line at the very apex of turn 11. Spotting now the turn-in for turn 12. Looking in and finding the end of that apex curb at turn 12. And now that the path has been established, tracing our arc underneath the bridge, just on the far side of this Michelin logo, and on straight. And there you have it. That's how to look your way around Road Atlanta in terms of surveying long-range reference points to become familiar with the landscape, finding specific reference points to keep the vision looking ahead, and working out timely vision looking into each corner towards the apex before turning in, and picking vision up and looking towards the exit before reaching the apex. That was laps 4, 5, and 6. Stick around for laps 7 through 50, where we keep working on Road Atlanta one lap at a time.